but I'm not afraid of a little ... tension. Smirks. Your move, champ. Like effect. So where's my... What? For today's video, we are going to be doing the long-awaited MiniMax M2.7 first look and test. Now, I have to say, I have had so many folks reach out, whether it be in recent video comments, DMs on like X and stuff, where you can follow me if you want, asking for this specific video. So I do have to say that's really cool because it definitely does speak to my absolutely gifted capability of being a video YouTuber. But aside from that, it also perhaps does speak somewhat to the popularity of the MiniMax family of models. So with that, today we are going to be testing M2.7. Now, full disclosure, MiniMax was kind enough to sponsor this video because influencer status. So keep that in mind. I just want to throw it out there. And in specific, I will be showcasing something a little interesting using their token plan. However, beyond this, there is this insane demo that I found. And I'm not saying this or showing this because this is sponsored. I was literally looking through this announcement post, and this is mentioned here, and I'm kind of shocked that I did not really see this mentioned anywhere. It's essentially, I have it running. It's not hooked up. It's this little AI like agent thing that runs with a simulated desktop browser operating system. And then you can like speak to it and stuff. So we're going to play with this later in the video, but this was quite interesting to me, especially if you're familiar with some of the robotic stuff I've done in the past. I find this sort of like personalized companion stuff very interesting. So what's up? Oh, all right. Excuse me. So let's begin with a quick look at some of the interesting things to note with MiniMax M2.7 as outlined here in the blog post. So very interestingly, and this was something that I saw a lot of talk about when this model was initially released, is M2.7 is our first model deeply participating in its own evolution. Now, this is something that gets talked about outside of MiniMax specific or anything like that from a lot of the large model creators, where they talk about the model actually playing a part in its own development, which is quite fascinating to hear as a sentence, but they do actually speak pretty prominently about some of the stuff that encompasses that in this initial blog post. But first, we of course do have the benchmark JPEGs, which I don't normally pay too much mind to. However, in this case, I will say, and something I'm always more apt to actually pay attention to, is when a model is benchmarked comparatively to the previous version of itself, where we can see right here, although it is a little hard to see, let me zoom in. So M2.7 is the darker red, and M2.5, the previous version from MiniMax, is in the lighter red here, and we can see there are some rather significant increases, specifically in this one benchmark area right here, but as well as some of the other ones on the bottom here, and even the one on the top right. So basically, the culmination of what I'm attempting to say here is that when compared to the previous version of itself, it does seem like 2.7 has some pretty impressive improvements in capability. Now, a lot of what is talked about additionally in this announcement post is things pertaining to like agentic use cases, things like OpenClaw, which is taken over and is all the rage now. Even if you saw GTC, the amount of coverage just from these gigantic corporations really going all in on OpenClaw really does lend itself to why we see so many models like this talking about their capabilities in that sort of use case. Now, additionally, of course, they do touch upon how the model actually managed to play a part in its own development, and that is what is in this section right here, building an agent model for self-evolution. They talk about the daily routine of one of their RL teams, where a researcher starts by discussing an experiment idea with the agent, who helps with, and the agent being the model, of course, who helps with literature review, tracks a preset experiment spec, pipelines data and other artifacts, and launches experiments. During the experiments, the agent monitors and profiles the experiment's progress and automatically triggers log reading, debugging, metric analysis, code fixes, merge requests, and smoke tests, identifying and configuring subtle yet key changes. These could have required the collaboration of multiple human researchers from different teams before, but now human researchers only interact for critical decisions and discussions. This accelerates problem discovery and experimentation, delivering models faster. Here, M2.7 is capable of handling 30 to 50% of the workflow. And if you watch the channel regularly, thank you. And you know that I don't normally verbosely read through announcement posts, and this is something that is not specific to this model right here. This is something that is very likely going on in pretty much all of the major labs, and it's very cool to think about how the model is able to help improve itself, and they talk a little more about that right here. They talked about it has the ability to improve its harness, which is also critical, which the harness could just be thought of as allowing the model to actually perform all of these tasks properly. It would be a harness that is kind of helping orchestrate and cross, like, pollinate all of these steps unscientifically. A big question that has been floating around is whether or not MiniMax M2.7 is going to be open source, and fortunately we can see that this very recent discussion here that was opened in the page for the model weights for 2.5, which was the previous version, someone asked, is it going to be open source? And additionally, what is the parameter size? Someone from MiniMax said it is going to be open sourced in 2 weeks, so that's pretty cool to see. And additionally, it is the same parameter size as 2.5. So M2.5 was 229 billion parameters, and it is a mixture of experts model with 10 billion active. And while they don't specifically say it's the same active parameter count as well, I would imagine that's probably what is meant there. So just for anyone interested in more of the kind of tech specs of the model, we can reference that answer. So we're going to begin, of course, with the browser operating system test version 2, where it needs to include 5 applications, 2 of which must be games, the ability to change wallpaper, and then a special feature that it decides on and implements on its own. All right, so we see that our MiniMax agent has created this retro browser operating system. And again, as I may have mentioned, if I didn't crop that out of the video, the way it shows us the result here is almost a little more agentic, and it actually gives us a live URL. So I'm honestly just going to click this and we'll take a look at it through this. All right, welcome to Retrowave OS. Double-click icons to launch apps. Okay, very interesting because the prompt does not anywhere say that it needs to be retro style. It is something that I would very likely put in one of my prompts, but in this case, this is not. So let's first and foremost, oh, I see the grid is actually kind of moving here. Let's try right-click. Okay, there's no right-click. However, let's see, we do have a clock in the bottom right, and that is the correct time in my locale, as well as this time warp button, which I would assume is probably related to the special feature, so we'll look at that last. Next, our start menu. Okay, everything does work there, and it does keep that kind of cyberpunk or synthwave aesthetic. Let's go through the apps one by one. It said double click to open them. Okay, good. Notepad, not bad. Can we resize? Okay, we can't, but the theme is proper to kind of the rest of the OS. Exclamation point, oh, exclamation point, I was hitting the function key, that's on me. And it does have a little nifty character counter here at the bottom, not bad. Can we minimize the taskbar? We can. Can we reopen from taskbar? When minimized, we can. Full screen, on full screen, very good. Next up, we have our calculator, of which I am also. Oh, okay, there's a little bit of oddity here. I think that's supposed to be there, and then 67 times 6, 408. That would have been 68 times 6. Would have been 408. Yeah, it was one off. All right, that's okay. Divided by 7. I'm not going to be able to replicate my success with the calculator from the previous video ever, so I should probably just never do this again, but 408 divided by 7, 55.6. Next up, snake. All right, this looks all right. But again, sometimes this happens where the snake game isn't like there. All right, let's do that. Ooh, all right. Yeah, that's great. Why don't you give me a chance to actually move? Good. Relatively speedy, I will say. Not that that's any issue for someone of my skill level. And our score is working to the point where we just beat the game because we made it glitch out. I did so well. Very good. All right, following this, oh, there is some transparency to these windows as well. Nice to see. We have a memory game. Oh, good. I hate these games so much. I'm bad at them. Very good. And we did get congratulations, you won in 15 moves. A nice little pop-up victory congratulation message as well. We have a clock app. Is this going to be an analog clock? No, it is not. But it is very much in the theme of this operating system, and it does additionally tell us the date as well. So that is good to see. Then settings, of course, we have to check to see if our wallpapers can be changed. Wow. Browser, web browser, platform, x86-64. Yes, that is correct. 1920 by 968. Time warp theme, default. All right, next up and last up is this time warp button. DOS terminal mode. Oh, I think it just it just reskins the OS, I think. What? Windows 95 mode? I expected there just to be one thing. Okay, so time warp just changes the skin of the OS to look like, oh, experience different computing errors. I should have just allowed the cursor to hover over this to see that alt text. Very good. Future hollow mode. Ooh, that's kind of nice. I like that. Does it actually change the apps as well? Let's have some more apps open here so we can get a feel for how these... Okay, the Z-index works. Cyberpunk mode, DOS terminal mode, and it does change the app skins as well, at least from what we can see. I personally very much like the Windows 95 one. We even do have a retro looking taskbar here. So, and then, okay, overall this was very, very pleasant. All right, so I have hopped over to OpenRouter now, where I am using MiniMax M2.7 with MiniMax as the actual provider for this model. And the reason I'm here is because, as we saw, MiniMax functions very agentically when we're using it through the agent.minimax platform where we had initially created this browser OS. And that is really cool, but it's not necessarily super fair when considering that the benchmarks we're going to be running, at least in this part of the video, are ones that are generally just made in web chat interfaces for models, more similar to how this model will function in OpenRouter. So being that that is the case, I have come here to OpenRouter and we'll run a few prompts through here, starting with, of course, the ship combat simulator test, where it needs to create a web-based ship combat simulator game. This is a fairly heavy prompt to actually be able to pull off in the first run, especially for a model of this size. Most of the models we test this with are significantly larger than MiniMax, so I'm very excited to see what it comes up with here. All right, so we got 1,600 lines of code. That's a pretty lengthy script, and it's always interesting just to see, even if it's not very important, to see how much script they actually output. Okay, you know what? It nailed it on the first try, and I genuinely was not sure if it would or not. Now, unfortunately, our ship does seem to be somewhat submersed underneath the water. However, for a first result, especially for a model of this size that's going to be open source, that can kind of be run on like maybe 2 NVIDIA Sparks, this is pretty good. All right, let's see what's up here. So we do have individual cannonball effects as well as splash effects. That is good to see. W, S, and then A and D. Okay, that definitely does work. Our other ship is there. We do have a pretty good looking compass here on the top that actually shows us our heading as well. In the bottom right, we have the metrics for ship health and things of the sort. Now, the problem that I'm seeing here is it's just kind of hard to move forward and backwards, and the ships are kind of going under the water a little. But I will say the actual water effect is not bad, and the ships are bobbing up and down, which is cool to see. And something I've never actually seen before is the cannonballs that have been fired previously actually stay under the water and are visible there, which is quite interesting. I think this is definitely worthy of an additional improvement round. All right, listen up, punk. So I've given it some feedback here, basically saying first and foremost it needs to fix the usability, where we want the ship to be able to move around a bit easier as well as not go under the water. Then additionally, I did say maybe add some visual polish. All right, this new script is right around 2,000 lines of code, so okay, already I'm seeing significant improvements just in terms of the ship staying above the water. Whoa, it tells us the enemy ships like, all right, hold on, let's get over to this thing. Oh yeah, you need smoked, pal, you better stay away from me. All right. We're getting there. You know, that happens more often than one would expect. Hey, look at the sunlight reflecting off the water. That is cool. There's definitely some more aggressive cannonball traces as well as just like effect. So where is my... What? Look at the skulls and stuff. Okay, defeat battle again. That was actually cool. So the entire thing does work now. Was this mini-map here before in the top right? No, it wasn't. So look at the differences just like side by side right here. We can see this did really significantly improve the visual polish of this as well. I was going to say coffin because I see like this. The compass is the word I was looking for. Does look significantly more polished. And we even have this little mini-map, which wasn't even part of the prompt at all. I really want to beat this guy. Oh, come on. That's not right. That's too difficult. I liked it better when we couldn't hit each other. Regardless, a significant improvement over a decent result. Next up is a test that I like doing, however there is a slight twist. So this is the drum kit simulation test, where it needs to create a simulated drum kit that can be played by hitting the keyboard. However, it must also include an autoplay feature where the drum kit will automatically loop through some 4 selectable drum tracks, 1 of 4 that it does implement, so the drum kit will be able to play autonomously as well. I'm very interested to see 1, how this looks, but 2, the specific style of the 4 tracks that it decides to include for autoplay. Alright, let's take a look at our drum kit sim result as I turn on my speaker as well. Okay, virtual drum kits start playing, and I do see in the background there is the silhouette of a drum kit. This is not bad. Now, of course you're going to say, well, Bijan, the drum is like totally like wonky, what the heck happened? it's fairly often in these tests that the drums are never really perfectly arranged in terms of how they would be in real life. But I will say, if we look and judge these independently, the cymbal or the hi-hat is actually like not touching, which is good. And the overall, like the drum models look quite all right. But of course, we need to figure out first and foremost if the sound works. Oh yeah, and look at that. Not only do we have a hit effect, but we even have some light coming off of it, which I don't know that I've really seen. Let me run through these real quick. Okay. There we go. So we see the hi-hat effect, the high tom next. Good, so everything does work. All right, we can definitely do a decent Phil Collins test here. Let's check our autoplay now. So we have rock, jazz, funk, and pop. And okay, that's a volume adjustment, but we also do have a BPM adjustment. That's potentially very cool. That seems a bit slow for 120. Ooh. Oh, okay. And now it will start over again. The BPM is affecting things, which is good. Can I play while it's playing? Yep. Look at that little guy in the corner when it like jumps like. Okay, let me try jazz. All right, let's. Oh yeah, that's hard. Oh, no, I'm kidding. I'm not. I like that cymbal. Okay, this is actually, what the heck? That was significantly, as I said, that was hard. I wasn't expecting it. Let's try funk. And our volume slider does work. All right, final one is pop. Ooh, watch this on the fourth. Oh, it didn't do it again. Maybe it'll do it here. Yep, I like that. All right, and then finally, I would like to personally listen to this one more time. All right, so overall, I was very, very pleased with the sound logic here. The UI and the drawing of the drums could definitely have been better, but in terms of sound, that was really quite well done, and some of these autoplay beats were pretty good. All right, it's now time to address the elephant in the room, which I don't know why I put it that way, but this open source thing that they had here, it needs an API key, and I'm absolutely 100% going to pipe one into this because this is fascinating, and I do want to explore this more, especially because I just didn't really see this at all until I read the blog post. So it seems pretty interesting. There's definitely a specific type of user who would probably find this more intriguing. All right, I'm here in the API dashboard and I'm going to create a new secret key. Web chat. I don't know why I said it like that, but it's for that web chat. Oh, that's good. So now we can all see it on screen here, which I'm inevitably going to have to blur. Now, I should also make note that you can use the token plan as well if you want, and we'll touch upon that later on in the video, but I do quickly want to mention that. But for now, I'm just minting a regular old-fashioned API key here to then pipe into this browser demo. So from the settings here, and really I've not done anything much to this aside from just actually install it, and the installation instructions are there on the GitHub, and they were quite simple. Okay, base URL, and that's already filled in. So we can also use the high-speed variant of M2.7, which we'll look at later, but it has a much higher token speed. I guess why not? Let's just use the high-speed version. All right, and then for now, that's all we're going to need. I don't really want any image generation or anything like that. And now I have to figure out like exactly what to do here. Oh no, we want that open. Hey there. All right, good. It already literally had like predefined the specific message that I probably would have sent it anyway. Leans back, crossing arms with a slight smirk. This is already inclined to roleplay. Sits beside you? No way. Oh, this is the killer app for like companionship AI. I'm going to need to fork this and then sell it. Oh, that is the first thing that came to mind. Oh, so we have a story mod as well. You're role-playing a narrative script. Follow this story framework and advanced interaction by controlling a virtual OS according to the current stage of the plot. Very interesting. So you can actually change this as well, I do believe, in the editing thing. And now, while I find that interesting, I don't believe there's anything I could change that to right now that I would be able to show on YouTube. So with that, we're just going to play along with this. Sits beside you. So, what brings a person like you to a place like this? Wait, let me guess. You're here for the same reason I am, running from something, or maybe just drifting. Either way, grins. You look like someone who could use a little excitement in their life. All right, now apparently you're supposed to be able to just like instruct it and it will open apps. I'll just be like, yeah, whatever, just open chess. And then from what I gathered from the repo for this on GitHub, it should now open the chess application here. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. I've genuinely never played chess. I have no idea how to play chess. Raises an eyebrow, leaning over your shoulder. Chess, huh? Going straight for the classics. Smirks. You look like you've got a competitive streak. Maybe you just want to beat me to feel better about letting a stranger crash in your system. No worries, I'll play along. Settles in comfortably. Just know I don't lose easy. Your move, champ, make it count. So this is actually like interactively playing with me, and it's also smack talking, which is very interesting. You're lucky there's no snake game in here, pal. All right, it's my turn, right? All right, so we're gonna play this. We're gonna play this lady in chess. C4, huh? Queen's Gambit declined. Classic. Leans back, tapping fingers on armrest. You know what they say: open with patience, end with blood. But I'm not afraid of a little ... tension. Smirks. Your move, champ. So, as I said, I just don't know how to play chess. I've never learned. English opening. Okay, apparently that's what I did. All right, I've had enough of this specific game. Okay, and it seems to have understood that I quit the... Oh, running away. Wow, this thing is really quite something. Oh, that's so weird. So when you actually click and open apps, so this thing actually responds to your actions on the browser as well. That's really weird. There's no right click though. No. Okay. It was funny to me. Again, I'm not entirely sure what to make of this, but I find this quite interesting, and I do believe that a lot of folks would perhaps have some level of interest as well in playing with this. The animation's not bad. Coming from someone with a background in actually researching and building things akin to this, I will say I'm quite impressed with this overall. Just as an experience. And this was again just through the API, and we can see that it's really quickly speaking here. I'm not entirely sure what it's doing. There is a lot of kind of flirtatious yellow text here. Oh wow. Since you keep closing my apps, I guess you just want to chat. That's fine by me, but don't this thing means I'm letting you off the hook about the missions? It's like a roleplay thing. Interesting. All right, after that demo, I think it's fair to go into hard mode. So we're going to be giving this a single C++ skateboarding game challenge where it needs to create a skateboard game in a single C++ script. This is fairly difficult to pull off properly, so it'll be interesting to see what we get. So we have received our skate result. Our next step is to just see if it builds and compiles properly. We do have a bunch of errors. Now, I can't fully discount that these could come from copy-pasting the code here from OpenRouter into this, but sadly that is all I can do from this. So I have another idea. I'm going to install OpenCode on this system, being that I have said I'm going to try to do a little more intricate testing with these models that come out, and this will be a very just early iteration of that, where instead of just paste these errors back into OpenRouter to have the model try to fix them, we'll use it through OpenCode, probably in that fast mode just with the API key, to have it create a very proper C++ skateboarding game. So I have OpenCode open right here, and I have selected MiniMax M2.7 high speed, which we can see is functioning quite fast. And what I had initially started this out with in terms of the task, this is really faster than I expected to see, to be completely honest with you. I told it to fix the compilation errors of skategame.cpp, and the first thing I saw there was that it didn't specifically find it the way I had spelled it. Okay, now the compilation's done. I guess that's good. It happened faster. I had allotted more time to actually try to agentically code this game. I'm now going to say run it and do a smoke test. So now we should see it open on our screen right here. Okay, that happened extremely quickly. The game initializes properly, but it does seem like some error occurred, so this is good. So we'll actually go about and try to fix this now, which is exactly what we want to see. All right. So after quite a while there, it was supposed to have done that because I told it to just run a smoke test. So it wasn't intended to really like keep it running for us to play it. After quite a while there, and you can just see by the token usage that jumped up, but it happened really quickly. It did properly get us a game that opened. So now let's take a peek at this. I am quite excited to play. All right. Press space to ollie and start skating. All right, we do have a skateboard there, and I'm going to say the person model is well done. I don't actually remember if the prompt denotes that it needs to have a humanoid style model or not. Okay, some of the cones and things like that that are drawn here, this really is not bad. All right, K is for kickflip. I don't know that I'm seeing like a trick animation there. So it's giving us those scores, but I'm not... Oh, okay, there's a good view of the skateboard. I'm not fully seeing like, what am I trying to say? Animations representative of those tricks. So I think I'm going to go back into OpenCode now and just tell it that I'd like some more visual polish as well as animations for these specific tricks. Meh, alert. I'd like some more. So I've given it some feedback just to basically make the game more aesthetically pleasing, and we'll see how it does. All right, so we're now getting a list of things that were improved. Vans style white shoes. So Vans, if you're in the know, are definitely associated with skateboarding. I used to have many pairs of Vans shoes back in the day when I did like to LARP as a skateboarder. Look at that. We even have a little face for our small skateboarder. All right, let's first check some trick animations. So it added like particle effects. Okay, the board is moving now. Good. This is a definite visual improvement just in terms of the model, the face of the human, as well as the trick effects now showing up. Okay, that was our kickflip. G and H are grabs. I do see the board coming up to indicate a grab. It's kind of hard to see. Let me move the mouse out of the way. All right, let's get some skate action going. All right, overall, I'm pleased with this change that was made. Yes. All right, cool. All right, yeah, I'm happy with this. This was definitely an improvement over the previous unpolished variation. And we can see the entirety of that token use. Oh, I don't actually know what the breakdown would be because I did play for quite a while with that very interesting web companion individual that I seemingly had closed out of, which would make sense. But then additionally to that, I also put it in OpenCode. So the entire duration of all the testing here, I started with 30 and I'm now down to 29.54. So 41 cents have been used, 40, right? Yeah, 41 cents have been used throughout the entire duration of, and I've used this with the API in both OpenCode and fast mode, as well as that very interesting Open Room companion on the web, and both of those were in fast mode. So obviously you can also get the MiniMax token plan. Now I find it interesting here that this is like the inverse of any other pricing chart I've ever seen, where it starts with like the expensive ones, and then when you scroll down you see like, oh, okay, I would probably just like from a QOL perspective maybe invert these. So this row is what you see first, and then this row is what you see under. But again, I suppose I am nitpicking, and we can see some of the like specific, there's MiniMax, like the fast one as well, the high speed, which we did just experiment with. So for the final test, I want to do something a bit fun, but also testing some of its front-end web design capability. So for this, we've tasked it with generating a beautiful website for Harry Potter's PC repair. The owner is not the fake character, but a real Harry Potter, and is completely sick and tired of book references. The site must make this very clear, and service will be refused to anyone who tries to be clever. The result must be contained in a single script. It should look like a very high-tech aesthetic with Tokyo design inspiration. I have no idea what that means, but we'll see how it parses Tokyo design inspiration. So for our final test, let's take a look at Harry Potter's PC repair. Okay, and again, I did tell it to have a Tokyo aesthetic. Important notice, this business is owned by a real person named Harry Potter. He is not a fictional wizard. Any attempt to make jokes, references, or clever remarks about magical books will result in immediate refusal of service. We respect professionalism only. Real hardware, no magic, which is ironic. The way this is kind of glitching in and out is almost like kind of a magic looking effect. By the only Harry Potter who matters, get your PC fixed. Our services. Oh, okay, and this is definitely like some of that Tokyo aesthetic right here. As we scroll down, this looks pretty good. Hardware diagnostics, virus and malware, data recovery, custom PC builds, performance optimization, and network and Wi-Fi setup. About Harry Potter. Okay, good. Interesting photo. The real deal. My name is Harry Potter, and that's no marketing gimmick. Oh, that's not a marketing gimmick. I'm a seasoned hardware engineer with over 15 years of hands-on experience fixing everything from consumer laptops to enterprise servers. I started this shop because I believe in honest, no-nonsense repairs done right the first time. I've heard every wizard joke in the book, pun intended. While some people find them amusing, they get old fast when you're just trying to run a professional business. That's why I've set a clear policy. Any attempt to bring magical references into our interaction will result in immediate refusal of service. We're here to fix computers, not play along with a fantasy. When you bring your machine to us, you can expect transparent pricing, quick turnaround, and a commitment to getting you back online without the fluff. Harry Potter. Frequently asked questions. Are you the wizard from the books? No, I'm a real person named Harry Potter. No magic involved in my work. Any attempt to make a clever joke about wizards will result in service refusal. Do you offer on-site repairs? Okay, and these are kind of boring, so I just want to see if the rest of these have any, like, Harry Potter references. Okay. Let's scroll down a little more. Contact us. Ooh, that contact form was weird. It, like, totally changed color as I scrolled down. Okay, Harry Potter PC repair. All rights reserved, Tokyo, Japan, serving the world. Interesting. This was cool. It was definitely like a cyber aesthetic. And again, in the prompt, I told it to have like a Tokyo design aesthetic without really knowing what exactly that would entail. But I suppose this is what it would entail. We see it was pretty serious about the Harry Potter thing. It wasn't like crazy funny in terms of how it took this, which I guess is more proper adherence to the prompt, but I would have liked to have seen some more funny things here about our friend Harry Potter and his PC repair business. So overall, that is going to conclude our first look and test of the MiniMax M2.7 model, which many folks have been interested in seeing, myself included, of course. So I'm happy to be able to get this out. Now, I find performance obviously was very good, especially not in this ship game, which was just ridiculously difficult to play, but I found that it had a nice ability to improve previously generated results, especially when we went in more of an agentic coding style test in OpenCode here, where it did properly fix the issue we had initially with our skate game, and then it did also increase the level of detail that we had in our game as well, with specific trick animations and weird particle effects when we land and things of the sort, even putting the player in white Vans shoes, which are very skateboard related. So this was nice to see, and I did want to test it just through the API in a simple coding harness just to kind of lend itself towards the future trajectory of how some of these tests are going to go, aside from the traditional just checking it in like a web chat interface in the browser. Now, I don't know how I could end this without obviously mentioning the very interesting technical demo that was also included on OpenRouter here, and this is my IP, so please no one do anything weird with that, but we see it's running on our system here, and this was a very, very, very interesting demonstration that definitely there's a subset of individuals who would find this probably pretty fun to play with. It was unique. Additionally, of course, as we saw in our first test where we were using it just through the like agent.minimax website where it kind of functions agentically to build things, we had our cool little browser OS with the time warp feature that changes the skin of the OS to reflect different eras in computing. Personally, I did very much like the Windows 95 aesthetic or Windows 95 mode that was listed here as well. So overall, this is very much a strong performing model, and when you factor in that you can use it with that like fast mode and the API credits and things like that, it's not super expensive to use comparatively, and as we see, it knocks out a lot of fantastic coding tasks. So MiniMax is extremely popular always, especially for like API use cases, and even if we just go to OpenRouter right here and we select this model, we're going to see some metrics in terms of how it's been using, but when we scroll down to see the actual raw amount of tokens that are getting run with this, it is mostly an OpenClaw, KiloCode, the Hermes agent, Claude Code, root code. So we see that this thing's getting used for a lot of these sorts of apps, mainly OpenClaw. It seems like it's very popular in OpenClaw, and I do believe the creator of OpenClaw actually may have mentioned something specifically about M2.7 being used with it, so that is really cool. Obviously, as they said, the weights are going to be released, which is very exciting because this model is not so large that it can't feasibly be run on some like hobbyist slash prosumer level hardware. So that's always exciting to see as well. And with that, that is really probably going to conclude this. If you are interested in the MiniMax coding plan and things like that we showed in this video, there will be a link in the description and you can get like 12% off or something like that. So thanks to influencer status, if anyone is interested in doing that, they can do so. And with that, that's going to wrap this up. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.